Now, I know I'm not the only one on this podcast.
No, there's three of us.
What? I was speaking rhetorically. I didn't realise there was two. Holy shit. But I knew the ADHD was bad, but Jesus Christ, my spatial awareness. Okay,
10 years this
10
show.
10 years there's been other people on here.
Yeah.
It's not just been me doing voices. Because when I stop speaking, my brain just switches off.
Nah, it's alright. When you stop speaking, we go into Audacity and we insert like a 30 second to 3 minute gap, and then we in post add some thoughts in.
Right. People do that. They do sort of just let me go off on my own and fix it later. That tracks. Okay.
So what were you going to say?
Well, having now learned that I am not the only one on this podcast, funnily enough, what I was going to say was I'm not the only one on this podcast who has had their identity questioned.
Oh, I've had this a few times.
And indeed had their identity appropriated, shall we say.
Oh, yeah.
I have received many emails from developers. I say many, not many, but I know quite a few developers who have gotten this. Some fucking chancer, some rifle has been emailing people, begging for game codes, pretending to be me. Now, that is not uncommon. That is not uncommon. This will not have been the first time it's happened to me. I know it's not the first time it's happened with Laura's identity. Pretty much anyone who is known to even the slightest degree when it comes to games media and reviews especially, will have some little freeloader trying to score off the back of them. The prevalence of this one is why I find it somewhat remarkable, in that I've received more than one email, which law of averages tells me about 1,000 people. By the time you get one email about it, 1,000 have gone out.
Yeah.
And I also find this remarkable because I take umbrage with the impersonation. This is bad. This is bad. And the problem with it, is that they've put effort in to try and make it not sound like some lazy cheap cunt trying to get a free copy of a game. They made the mistake of talking too much. So they've tried to sound, like they think I do when I'm talking to someone professionally.
So talking too much.
Talking too much. Talk themselves into the lie.
Because they only have your public persona to base their conjecture on.
Yeah. And it wouldn't have been as bad if they'd have tried to just be that clever. Instead, what they've tried to do is go one step further and be like, extrapolating from the public persona, how would this person sound if being friendly and professional? And let me tell you, I would not start an email with greetings from your friendly neighborhood critic.
Oh my god. Wow.
It's the milk toasty fucking catchphrasey laden. I say stock phrasey laden. Greetings from... The email is jimsterlingcommander@gmail.com, by the way, if anyone wants to. Now, I don't use Commander in official video game stuff. It's like my online handle at a few places, but that is my wrestling name. Yeah. And we'll get to that bit. So greetings, I'll just read it. Greetings from your friendly neighbourhood critic, James Stephanie Sterling. Game industry enthusiast, unapologetic advocate for better practices, a connoisseur of the weird and wonderful.
Jesus Christ. Okay,
I think,
what the fuck? What the fuck? That is so... Alright, first of all, I'm just going to save people a lot of effort, okay? One, nobody hypes themselves in professional emails asking for codes.
No.
It does not happen.
Oh yeah, I have already read out more than I'm ever going to write on the very, very rare occasion I might ask for a game copy, which, on average, I could say I have maybe done once or twice a year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, having already read more than I would ever write, it goes on. I've been keeping an eye on your project, insert game name here, for a while now. I finally had the chance to dive into it. It's safe to say I see potential here. Not just in the game, but in the kind of conversations it can spark. It's making my teeth curl up. I am cringing so hard. I just hope no one thinks this is me. I think the fact I've gotten so many emails suggests if you know who I am, you know that's not me. And if you don't, you're gonna think it's some milquetoast influencer, and thank fuck it's probably no ding on my reputation.
I mean, you've been doing this long enough, like, you've been in, like, editorial positions around reviews. Like, you know enough to be like, this is not how this communication goes.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely
This does not read like anyone who has ever done these interactions reads.
For over a decade, I've been creating content that highlights the quirks and controversies of gaming while also celebrating its artistry and creativity. My YouTube channel, Jim Sterling, has been home to discussions about industry practices, deep dives into design, and a sprinkling of pogs for balance. See, there's where they thought they were clever. I know enough about this person. Fucking cunt. In addition, my blog, The Jimquisition, is a hub for gaming critique, industry analysis, and other engaging content, a platform that reaches a passionate and thoughtful gaming audience. Do me a favour, folks. Either of you, click on thejimquisition.com right now.
Yes, I've seen this. This graphic you have.
Yeah,
yes.
Big splash image just lets people know that if they do click on the link and go to that website, it is a fake email from a sad wanker. If this sounds like something you're interested in, I'd be delighted to discuss what we could do together, be it a dedicated feature review or some creative chaos that fits the tone of my channel. Additionally, I'd appreciate the opportunity to get an access key to the game so I can dive deeper into it and create a meaningful video that does it justice, blah, blah, blah. Rest of it is just nicety.
That email should not have been anything more than, at most, hello, my reviews go on Metacritic, so they're relevant to the number, can I get a code?
Yeah.
Like, at most, that would be the sales pitch is, hello, I'm one of the sites that Metacritic cares about, can I get a code?
And I'm me. I approach this not just from the perspective of either they know me or they don't. I approach it from the perspective of, if they know me, there's a 50-50 shot they think I'm a dick, so I better downplay myself.
There's no world in which you would bring up, like, on my YouTube, I talk about the controversial aspects of games. That's not what fucking PR want to hear. They want to hear, hello, I review games and the reviews are always predictable reviews. That's what they want to know.
Okay, all right. So I have a couple of thoughts here. First of all, for whoever is doing this, you need to understand that this strategy is not going to result in you ever getting a worthwhile game.
No.
If you get a game, it will be from the absolute bottom of the barrel. Just like the most overworked, underappreciated, least paying attention PR people in the world, right? Probably an independent developer who doesn't have time and isn't really that invested in their business. Like, that's who you're going to be getting the product from. It's not going to be good. And God forbid you wind up on the email list of some of these really shit publishers that, like, you're screwing yourself here. You step away while you still have a chance. But second, Steph, have you considered maybe hiring this person to, like, do your PR and marketing? Because I'll level with you, they have a really deep understanding of you as a brand, and
really do,
they're clearly a fan.
Oh, well, I mean, just wait till you get to the signature of this email. This is the cherry on the top. So after just a few last niceties and some links to some shit, best regards, James Stephanie Sterling, professional fool, wrestling enthusiast and commander of cornflakes. wrestling enthusiast.
Wow.
Sorry.
That is so fucking insulting.
I did not spend years busting my ass in the ring to not take every opportunity to call myself a professional fucking wrestler. I'm not a wrestling enthusiast, darling. I'm a professional wrestler. There's no caveats to that. There are no caveats to that. That's literally what I am trained to do. I literally get paid to do it. That's the one bit that actually offends me.
At least this person put more effort into the one that I always think about that I had, which was the person who, I'm gonna like massively summarize this. There was a little while in which a person very obsessed with when's the next Mario Kart gonna come out, and very upset that games journalists weren't doing enough to force Nintendo to announce a new Mario Kart already. Like, in this person's mind, the only reason Nintendo hasn't announced news about a new Mario Kart is not one journalist in the industry has thought to ask Nintendo, because if a journalist asks, then Nintendo will have to announce it.
Well, those are the rules. Those are the rules
Yeah.
of games journalism. They can't lie.
So they emailed Nintendo, and I'm gonna paraphrase, it basically boiled down to, when are you announcing the next Mario Kart? Why haven't you announced Mario Kart yet? Will you apologize to the fans who've been waiting for Mario Kart to get announced for having not announced it yet? When will you be issuing your apology for not having announced it yet? And what date will the new Mario Kart be out? I demand answers by the end of the week. I'm Laura, the person who believably sent this email.
Unbelievable. I tell you what, right? With this one, and most of them are low effort, your one has always been interesting.
Yeah.
This one is one of those, how far are you planning to take it? Because obviously the idea is to just get the code.
Yeah.
But why open up yourself to a discussion? I'd be delighted to discuss what we could do together. And then they talk about, like, features, reviews, stuff like that. It's like, they clearly don't know how this shit works. But if they did, they'd at least be savvy enough to not give themselves more opportunity to give the game away by opening a discussion where it will eventually become apparent they don't have access to any of these platforms they're talking about.
Well, that's part of the problem with crafting a lie is more often than not, you overcompensate.
Of
you
course,
try to give too much information as to reinforce you think your lie, when all you're doing is opening up opportunities to be exposed. If you're going to lie, say very little. That's the key to lying, is to say very little and let other people fill in the gaps.
Yeah, like, look, I don't want to tell people how to do better at doing this scam, but, like, your best chance is email address that looks like the real one, but is like one letter off, and hope that someone's tired and doesn't notice. Say very little, hope they already know who the person is, and hope that they just go, oh yeah, I recognize that name, and nothing's obviously flagged. Here you go, here's a code.
And you will still only get the worst games. I guarantee it.
Oh yeah, like, and they're not even trying the big guns here.
All the people who are worthwhile, they're not soliciting, like, emails coming in. They're going, where do we want reviews to be?
Yes.
Let's look on their socials, find their email from a place we know is reputable, and we will reach out to them.
More and more, like, a lot of them these days have application forms.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
like,
God, yeah.
The process is that level.
Yeah, when I get stuff from, like, I get most of PlayStation stuff in advance. I don't ever request anything. I just get an email and code shows up.
Yeah.
Because they put me on a list somewhere and an automated machine gives me code. Like, you're not going to email PlayStation and convince them that you're me asking for code. They know that I just get it.
Oh, and by the way, like, I'm blacklisted at a lot of places. If you're going to try and score copies off the back of someone, maybe don't do it off the back of someone who has quite famously been denied review codes for being too unpredictable. Or outright blacklisted at, like, other places.
Yeah, you should really pretend to be an IGN reviewer.
Yeah. Like, do a YouTube influencer kind of person. There are so many platforms that are about pure hype. No criticism, just hype.
Just go be Game Informer now. I'm sure there are PR people who still think that's a thing.
Go set up a Twitch account and pay, like, 50 quid for some bots so it looks like you have viewers. Take a screenshot and go, here's my average CCV on Twitch. Can I get a code? Fucking chance that.
I mean, that's the thing. By the time you are in a position to where you can scam codes, you will have had to have put in the effort that you might as well have just put into making yourself a legit fucking content creator.
Yeah.
Like, literally, it's so little work to just, next time you buy a game, review it, and then email the publisher next time they have a game coming out saying, I reviewed your last game, can I have a code?
Yeah.
I'll review your next one. Like, it's not that fucking hard to just start doing this job and hope it works.
To be clear, we are not advising anybody do any of this.
No, it's
because you do not want to get into this business. It is a terrible, terrible racket.
No, you don't want to turn the thing you love into work. That's a terrible idea. Don't do it.
Yeah, so the very fact that more than one developer emailed me, and then when I talked about it on social media, I had people telling me that they got it as well. That never happens. Most of the time, some impersonator will have a go. The recipient will just go, oh, for fuck's sake, and delete it. You are really bad at this if I'm getting multiple emails and then confirmations on social media. And pretty much everyone I've spoken to is like, I didn't believe it for a minute. The ones who didn't send it to me because they didn't believe it. The ones who did also didn't believe it, but just wanted to be sure. Every single one has been, yeah, this looks like bullshit, but I just want to check. That's not the mark of a good grift, son. Fucking moron.
Welcome to Podquisition.
Yeah.
We're here.
I'm a professional wrestler.
Yes, you
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
I'm a gaming enthusiast.
Not really. Not that enthusiastic, if we're honest.
No. Gaming... I was about to say gaming cynic, but I'm pretty sure that's the name of a YouTuber.
Oh, if you put gaming in any emotional state, that's a YouTuber.
Yeah, gaming anything. Gaming Peroxide is my new channel. I would laugh really hard for about a second before I got really annoyed by it if they tried to send this email to Ponkle. I've been keeping an eye on this vampire survival, is it? For a while now? Let's collab. Fucking right.
I mean, if they know Pogs, they know you wrote on Vampire Survivors. There's no way.
Hey, if they know Pogs, they know I'm a fucking wrestler.
Yeah, it assumes that they're stopping and thinking before they send each email rather than just, I found an email list on GamePress.com and copy-pasted and, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Jim Sterling Commander at gmail.com if you want to, offer them.
Don't do that.
Do
Don't
it!
do that. No.
It's
don't
not
do
their
that.
primary email. It's an email built off my back. That's my identity, is that email. Do what you fucking want with it.
Who's played stuff this week?
I've played loads of stuff.
Have you?
Have you?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Tell us about it then. What have you played?
Well, right. Tell you what I've done. You know that Odin handheld emulator device?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That I backed on Indiegogo years and years ago. It got shipped after I moved to the UK. Ended up somewhere for over a year. And then Conrad got it, shipped it to me. I got it. Even the most basic software-related work is beyond my capabilities. Tried it once. Couldn't understand what I was doing. Gave up on it. There's a friend of mine who I haven't seen in ages, but they're a programmer and stuff, and was going to sort it all out. And I see them so infrequently that it's just sat there, and I started feeling really bad, so I forced myself to muddle through it. So I have been swimming in emulated games because I got it working, and even though it is a super simple process, when you contrast that against the inadequacy of my brain for anything that isn't a useless skill. I can do things that benefit no one to perfection. A practical skill, useless. So I'm very proud of myself that I actually got it up and running.
This is like really illustrative, though, of why console manufacturers aren't more aggressive in dealing with these communities that build these things, because there's enough friction there in the process that so few people are actually going to go through with it.
Yeah, no matter how many like random chancers like me who are trying to score a free copy of a game, they're not that bothered. As you say, Conrad, it is a faff. These are old games, they're not selling anymore, by the way. If anyone does want to be like, you just talked about someone grifting, and now you're emulating. I'm sorry, but I don't think Tecmo Koei is going to cry that I've been playing Dynasty Warriors 3 for much of this week, as I invite people to knock on the door and come into Stephanie's Rom Condo. So that's the new thing.
That's good, yeah.
I was quite pleased with that. Rom Condo. I will, So I've got loads of stuff. Most of it was hack and slash, because I've been talking about, Sengoku Basara and Dynasty Warriors a lot. So I will briefly, just for this bit, because my entire games of this week have been spent in the condo. So I'm going to just do this first one, which is Dynasty Warriors, obviously. I've been playing 3, 4, and 5. 3, I've emulated a fair bit, off and on over the years. Like, I have it on my Steam Deck and stuff like that. 4 and 5, I've not played those since they were basically new. So, like, I haven't played Dynasty Warriors 4 in over 20 years, or maybe a bit under. Loved it back in the day. It's quite tepid to go back to that one. One thing I have learned about Dynasty Warriors, going back and playing the old ones, is if anyone ever brings up, which is a fairly common complaint about the series, if people bring up the complaint of, why aren't these soldiers attacking me? Why are the officers a threat, but the general little soldiers, most of the time they're not? I will put my Odin in their hand, and then I will tell them, click on that, Dynasty Warriors 4, and just start playing. And they will never ask that question again, because back in the PS2 days, they weren't the most balanced of experiences, and every enemy had a level of aggression. That game has dozens of enemies in the vicinity at any given time. So, trying to finish a string of attacks is sometimes impossible, depending on how late in the timeline of the campaign the level is. I have times where I cannot get more than 2 hits off in a row. There are times where I can't unblock. If I stop blocking, I will get hit dozens of times from a huge crowd of enemies. And then over the years, the little mooks got less aggressive, and the game's got better as a result, because that's not actually fun. It is fun to bowl into a dozen enemies and smash them about and bully them. It is not fun to be bullied by a dozen enemies, especially little fuckers with little spears that don't even do a full combo on you. They just go pair, pair, which just comes off as snide. It's been fun, is what I'm saying. It's been nice going back to those. I just got Zhong He's 4th level weapon in 3. That was fun, because you got to do it on hard, and Dynasty Warriors 3 on easy mode is fucking annoying. But yeah, really pleased that I got that up and running, and I've been streaming them now. Like I streamed Dynasty Warriors 3 the other night, and that was just pleasant. It was just pleasant to go back to, like, one of the games that really, or like the game that properly got me into video games, because I'd always played them and liked them, but Dynasty Warriors 3, I watched my brother play it way back and was like, that looks interesting, and that guy looks gay as fuck, I'm into this. And then obsessively played it, and that just moved on to me obsessively playing other things. So, yeah.
Well, Laura, what have you played this week?
I've really not played much in the way of video games this week. It's been a weird, busy, chaotic week, and a lot of my time for gaming was spent doing board games with some friends. I played a couple of I played some simple ones that are fun and maybe worth talking about a little bit, but aren't going to take much time to talk about. I played one called Codenames. The idea of this is you have a 5x5 grid of very basic words laid out on a table, and you split into two teams, and one member of each team is looking at a card that highlights some of the 5x5 grid as blue and some of it as red, and that tells you, okay, I'm the blue team. I'm trying to get my team to guess the blue words on the table. The other team's trying to get them to guess the red words. And the way you do it is that you can give a one-word clue, and how many words on the table you expect them to be able to intuit from the clue you've given. So if I say Easter 3, maybe someone looking at the table might get that I'm trying to hint at that chick, Jesus, and angel are all words that connect to Easter. But I'm trying to find a clue that isn't going to accidentally also point at a word that's on the red team's words, because otherwise I'm giving them 3 points.
Right.
And early on, pretty easy to get multiple things with one clue. But as you get deeper in, you are having to really stretch yourself to go, what is a word that is going to definitively connect, apply to more than one thing on the table, and not to anything I didn't intend it to.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a fun game in terms of one of the most frustrating, but you cannot blame the game at all for it moments is you think you've thought through a clue really cleverly while the other team's taking their turn. You're like, there's no way this could be misinterpreted. And you say your clue and how many things it applies to, and instantly your team go, well, obviously it means that thing on the table that you did not foresee them connecting to.
Mm-hmm.
And having to just completely and utterly stone-face yourself and not give away, oh god, I fucked up this clue, I fucked it up entirely. So yeah, that is a fun, very rules-light, nice, easy-teach kind of game. In terms of other very rules-light, easy-to-recommend kind of games, I played one of those hidden role games called Donna Dinner Party.
Mm.
And the idea for this one is, let's say there's 6 of you at the table playing, you each put, cards face down. You're trying to put enough food in the circle so that there is food for everyone to eat. And your cards are very simple. It's either 1 food, 2 food, poison that will make all of the food in the pile inedible, or medicine, which will undo poison. And you've got a set number of people at the table that are trying to make sure there's not enough food going in the middle of the circle, so that someone's got to get eaten, hooray, the cannibals are winning. There's a couple of neat little things that I think work well about this game. Every turn, you move around the table, whoever is the leader, and that person can choose one person at the table each round to check that they put in what they said they put into the pile. So there is always an element of risk of being caught out in the lie, trying to sneak something in that you shouldn't have. There are single-use cards that get dealt face down to each person so that everyone has a once per game ability they can use to try and circumvent getting fucked over. And one of my favourites is there is a card you can be dealt out that designates you as Big Ol' Tasty, which means you are just such a delicious human being that if you are ever eaten, everyone resorts to cannibalism instantly and the cannibals win. And this is a hidden role at the table. So if let's say you're the cannibal and you're trying not to get caught out, and it seems like everyone's going to vote to eat you, you might lie and say, I'm Big Tasty. If you eat me, the game will be over. You will lose immediately. That is going to make you suspicious as fuck, because it makes it sound like you are trying to create a cover story to not have yourself eaten. But as long as no one else at the table got dealt that card out and can disprove you, suddenly it makes everyone way more cautious about what they were planning to do. And taking the risk of potentially claiming to have that card when you don't is, I think, a really fun mechanic at the table. So yeah, it's a very simple one. It is a hidden role game that is literally just, did you put enough food in? If not, someone gets voted out. But I do like a lot of the little randomly dealt out tweaks that you won't know are in play until they come up. And the last one I played, and this is another board game that is, again, it's hidden role specific, but it's a much bigger time commitment. I played the Battlestar Galactica board game.
Oh, mate! So I played that one.
Battlestar Galactica,
I've played that one. I am a terrible liar in real life. I am really bad at it. I get like guilty and shameful, and go red-faced. I am an exceptional Cylon. Whenever it comes up, I love boasting about what a great... It got people afraid, because they all knew I was a shit liar. They knew I was bad at bullshitting, and they were confident.
The thing I love about the Battlestar Galactica, like, it's got some balance issues, but I do think it has one thing really going for it, which is the non-Cylon players, the players who are doing what they're supposed to be doing at the table, the task they have to complete of fending off all of these incoming ships that they need to be battling and trying to make their leaps to get across the galaxy is a hard enough fucking challenge as it is. You don't really need to work that hard as a Cylon to fuck them up. You can be a very effective double agent in that game by never putting in things that actively hurt the score, just putting in things that are helpful but not as helpful as you said they were, or overcommitting to help, putting way more helpful stuff in than was really needed to pass a skill check so that you don't have enough cards to help on the next skill check that comes around. It is a hidden role game where you can very viably play the long game of I'm being helpful but not as helpful as I promised, or I'm being overly helpful at the wrong times, which is a really hard thing to detect. And it makes being the hidden role player a really fun gamble of how much are they fucking up on their own that I can keep quiet, and at what point in the game are they getting too close to victory that I have to actually start deliberately fucking things up and being more obvious about my presence. But there's also a lot of opportunities to make yourself seem very obviously innocent, even when you're guilty. There are skill checks you can do for things like, I played as Gaius Baltar and had the opportunity to check whether someone was a Cylon or not once during a game. And I had a moment where I had a lot of power placed on me. I was the president. I was able to do very powerful things, and I had to give that up. So I checked someone was innocent, they were innocent, and I handed them power, handed them the presidency, and they instantly were like, well, you were truthful about me being innocent, and you gave me a lot of power that you didn't need to give me. That's a thing that seems like you're on my side. I'm very willing to believe you're not a villain. And you've got someone vouching for you the whole fucking game. It's great. I love it. So yeah, it's one of those games where it's a very lengthy hidden role game, and if you fuck up and get caught out as one of the hidden role players early, it can be a bit not that fun, in that you have more limited actions once you've been revealed, and it's a lengthy game. But if you can stay hidden, it's fucking fun just getting to do very subtle undermining and being like, I'm fucking you up and you don't even know it.
Yeah, they were really, really considerate with that one in, as you say, making sure that it's subtle. That it's not the kind of, oh, something could jump out and get me when no one's looking kind of paranoia, which is good. You know, it's why Among Us is so, like, popular. But there is just that constant, I don't know if I'm being fucked with, and I don't know how I'm being fucked with.
It does a good job of, like, having just enough randomness into every skill check that maybe random chance is fucking us up and not someone at the table. And because the resources you can contribute to skill checks are so specific, you can end up in situations where, like, someone at the table has a 10-card hand and tells you that they can't contribute to anything at all to the skill check. And you're sat there going, that looks like a suspiciously big hand, but if you just don't have the right colours of cards to contribute, you might legitimately not be able to help. And there's a lot of things that look suspicious but could have a legitimate explanation that you can cast suspicion on really nicely.
And I loved the show. So it's one of the reasons I'm not a big board game player, obviously. When I lived in Mississippi, I was with a group that really did like their board games. And even then, I'd join in. If it wasn't like a tabletop RPG, I wasn't as interested. But I would play because, what else are we going to do?
Yeah.
That one I always loved, though, because I was a big fan of the show. And I think they really got that whole sort of paranoia of, who's the Cylon? They got that down really nicely.
They capture it well. They have good fun mechanics outside of the hidden role element, like just fighting the ships is in and of itself fun. It does work best at high player counts. I've played it at lower player counts. It really needs a good 6 or 7 people to really get going as a game. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with that. What about you, Conrad? What you been playing?
Oh, well, played another little horror game called For Sale. In this, you are a real estate agent that is sent to get photographs of a house in the woods where the person who drives you there tells you that, like, multiple prior owners have died in the house in mysterious ways. It's real subtle. But you have to go up there and you have a list of, things in each of the rooms of the house that you need to take photographs of for the listing. And, this is pretty standard stuff. You get your little jump scares, your little corner scares. That's all fine. The voice acting, I give them credit for doing it. It is comically bad. But I will give them this. For Sale does one thing that games of its ilk almost never do, and has been historically a joke of the horror exploration genre. It provides a narrative justification for its absurd key puzzles. You know how it is in all of these fucking mansions where all of these doors are inexplicably locked and the keys are all over the house? Well, in a voicemail left for you by the owner of the house, he explains that he closes and locks a lot of the doors in his house because they have a tendency to blast closed in the wind because of drafts in the house, and he just leaves the keys scattered all over the place. He meant to unlock them all before you came over, but forgot. And look,
That's
it doesn't
stupid, and I kind of love it.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a good explanation to work.
I've always said that with a lot of movies, games, but like any story where there is a plot detail that makes no sense or something like that, I don't need a good explanation. Just address it somehow. Yeah. Don't leave it open, because then it bothers me as a plot hole. If you pull any explanation out of your ass, I'm usually fine with it unless, that is incongruous with something else or what have you. Just give me a reason.
Yeah. So, anyway, it's a $6 game, and it's fine. It has one of those, midpoint gameplay shifts where it was all just casual exploration, and now there's an action element implemented. And that part's fine. That's actually the only part I really played. My wife Linda played the game on stream, and when it got to the action bit, had me take over because the game offers only a volume control and sensitivity options. There's no invert. There's no button reassignment. Not that it's necessary in this case, really, but it is just the most bare bone indie games options menu, and without being able to invert the y-axis, she's just out on a first-person game. So had to switch to me, and yeah, the little action part was fine. The game ends really abruptly. I was actually kind of hoping and expecting for a little more content. It's an hour and a half, and it's fine for what it is. But I wouldn't have minded a little more because they kind of had some stuff going in this, and who knows? Maybe I'll keep an eye on the developer and see what else they do. But yeah, so played For Sale. And then other than that, just more of Spirit's Abyss, that Spelunky-like from the Bone Razor Minions dev, which I've unlocked a few more character classes in that. And that is one of the things that I think really makes this game fun, is the variety of what your little character classes can do, their limitations and abilities, and how those are compensated for with their various bonuses that only their clan gets offered in item selection sequences. Yeah, I like the variety. Every clan feels really different to play, and that's fun. Now, I mean, I'm also a huge fan of like the Spelunky approach of, no, it's always the same and it's consistent and you can count on that. But as a treat, every once in a while, coming up with one where you have to develop some new strategies for your approach. And, you know, that works better too, because the rules are a little looser and less defined here than they are in a game like Spelunky that has clearly undergone so much, like, iteration to define itself and how everything works. Yeah. Anyway, decent game. I do think people should try it out. That Spirit's Abyss. It is fun. Yeah.
Nice. What about you, Steph? You been playing anything else this week?
Yeah. Again, it's all been in the condo, which I'm really pushing it. I reckon there's merchandising opportunities. We could do a whole franchise. I have been playing some other hack and slash games because I was interested, maybe for like a video at some point, to look at some of the games that came out around about the PS2 era, before most of them all gave up trying to do the Dynasty Warriors thing. A few other companies tried it. Obviously, we had Sengoku Basara with Capcom. I got to play some Sengoku Basara too. It's all in Japanese, but, you know, I can just about get it muddled through with a translation app on my phone. Translator apps they make a good case against the people that hate video game localization and like, oh, localizers are horrible, and they ruin the artistic integrity of a game by not doing a straight one-to-one translation. Yeah, there's a reason for that, because the languages are different and have different cultural resonance and different cultural references and different applications of words. And if you do a straight one-to-one translation of Sengoku Basara 2, what you get is an item that says, sets your attack to 0, but it also sets your defense to 0. That's not what it does. And if it did, it wouldn't be written like that. So some of it you have to sort of extrapolate. And obviously, like, it can do, like, speech to text, but not effectively enough for me to get through the cutscenes. There is an English patch, or was in the works, specifically for, like, one of the Android emulators. Information on it's really hard to get hold of. I'm not even sure if it was finished, because I saw references to it being made. So I haven't tinkered with that. But it has been nice to play. It's sort of the bridge between SB1, the Devil Kings stuff, and Samurai Heroes, the one I've been playing on the Wii, where the gameplay is sort of edging towards that, but still has the very separate combo attacks and special attacks, whereas 3 would start blending them and synergizing and stuff. But it's still fun, and it's nice to play as characters that weren't in the third one. So they went sort of missing, and finally I got to be the edgy twink with the scythes, because he was cut out of Sengoku Basara 1 when it became Devil Kings, so I never got to do it there, and he was an NPC in Sengoku Basara 3 until the expansion, which is Japan only, so I still didn't get to play as him. And I finally did, after 20, like, knocking on, what was it? Yeah, that one must be knocking on 20 years. And he's okay, it's fine to play as. Not a big problem. The other ones I've done are Spartan Total Warrior, which all of these are things I've not touched since they were new. I played Spartan Total Warrior when it first came out, in like 2005, 2006, something like that. And playing it now, after, looking back on all the time I spent with it back in the day, I can say that it's just as bad now as it was back then, if not fucking worse. Jesus Christ. Terrible game. If you've never heard of it, basically Sega took the Total War series and thought, yeah, we can do a Dynasty Warriors of these. I'll tell you what, we'll copy some God of War at the same time. And while we're at it, let's take lines of dialogue from the movie 300 and straight-facedly replicate them, and somehow players won't cringe into their own shoes when we just repeat lines about, dying in the shade and all of this shit. It just cribs lines. Not as like a joke, or maybe intended as a joke, but done so straight-faced, it's just taking dialogue from a contemporary film. I wouldn't mind it if it was like an old reference. She said, covering her ass, as she remembered the Event Horizon reference she put in the Vampire Survivors bestiary. But, 300 was a fairly newish film at that time. So it just looked like they were trying to look like a game of the film, which they weren't. Terrible. The camera is pulled so far back, because it's got a lot of the Dynasty Warriors DNA of one person versus an army, but is trying to make you think it's God of War with the camera perspectives and the way sort of certain visual elements are. It's a terrible version of both. Really long-winded objectives where it's like, do this thing that basically amounts to when the button flashes, go over and press the button. But it's one of those games that by the time you're done with the objective, you're screaming at the screen, I get it. I've nailed it. I understand what you told me to do. Why are we doing it again? So it just drags out repeated objectives. It is full of escort missions in a game like that, and I've not gotten to it yet, but I'm dreading the bit that stopped me playing it back in the day, where there is a particular escort mission. It's still, to date, the worst escort mission I've ever played, where there's some old man going, Spartan, you must help me get home, and he just immediately gets fucking mullered by an army of Romans, and maybe with quick saves, I'll finally get through it, but that voice, hearing, Spartan, you must help me get home. And it's such an annoying, whiny voice as well. I did it pretty much one-to-one. And to this day, remembering that voice makes me want to eat glass, to feel something more positive. Not good, not good. The other thing I played was a game called Buccaneer. D3 Publisher, the only Charnborough people, put out their own Dynasty Warriors, a pirate-themed one. Where, you fight groups of skeletons. It's awful, obviously. Budget as budget can get, which is their sort of thing. And normally it's charming, but there's no real silliness. It's just you're fighting skeletons as a pirate, and no one's really talking or doing anything. Like, it's all text only and tepid music. The controls are strange. If I recall correctly, it's like triangle or maybe square to do regular attacks, then circle, which is normally like your ultimate attack in any game like this. Circle does your strong attacks, but they interact weird with the normal attacks to where it's like if you do a normal attack, then push forward in a normal attack, and then a strong attack, then it will do some long-winded animation, and all the strong attacks are like slashy, 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 slash, charge forward, pause for a moment, backflip while firing a revolver. And that's one attack, and it's so long. Stilted and strange. And I hate it, but I kind of love it. And that's Buccaneer. Right, now, I won't go into it on the podcast, because it's just... Basically, there's a lot of heck going on in my house right now, and I have to dash.
No worries, we get life happens. See ya. What about you, comrade? You played anything else this week?
No, not really. That's pretty much been my week. how's your speedrunning going?
It's going. I've retaken all of the records in Cooking Mama Cookstar. I'm
Excellent.
first place on every category over there again, which means I've come back to Babysitting Mama now, and I'm getting there. The record I'm currently trying to retake, the Yuto single baby any percent run, is like 40 minutes long, and the current record holder has set a really damn good record for it. Like, not an unbeatable one, but one that is no major mistakes. And in order to beat it, I'm going to have to do a flawless 40 minutes, plus on the stuff that is, like, subjective how long it's going to take, I'm going to need to get good times on. So I'm going to need some time saves on some of the mini games that aren't just do it correctly and you will always do it at the same pace. I've got to do well on those, as well as the ones where it's like there is an element of strategy and approach that will change the time on them a bit. So before I switched from a PAL to a North American version, I was like 4 minutes behind the record. Then I started playing on the North American copy, and I got my personal best down to, I think it was 23 seconds behind the world record on a 40-minute long speedrun, which is, within striking distance. Yeah. I think I knocked about 15 seconds off it the other day. I think I am now 8 seconds off the record. So it's doable. I've got to save 8 seconds in a 40-minute long speedrun. And I just know it's one of those, I need to not make any mistakes and also have a run where I'm like, by the first or second page out of 6 going, ooh, I'm on a roll, I'm having a good one. And just, it's going to take a lot of practice, and it's like a 40-minute long run. I'm not going to know until... Realistically, I'm not going to know until the end of it whether I am on a good pace. Because, 8 seconds is the kind of time save. I could end up making that in the final page out of 6. Like, it might be in the last 10 minutes I make an 8-second time save. So it's not going to be one of those ones where I can go, I'm not going to be able to tell I'm not on pace until kind of deep into the run in a lot of cases. So, we'll see. I'm determined I'm going to take it, and it's nice having a record that is... I can feel that is a really achievable time, but I know I'm going to have to really nail it to get it.
Yeah.
And
you can do it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's finding the time to put the time in to do the runs. Like, this is why, when doing Cookstar, my favourite runs for that game, to get back and forth competitive with people over, are the 5 recipe or 10 recipe runs, because they're in your sort of, like, 5 to 15 minute range. And you can more easily find, like, 15 minutes to do an attempt at a run. 40 minutes is long enough where it's like, I've got to carve time out to try and do a run of that. So I'm getting there. I'm continuing, and I already have my eyes on the next thing I might start speedrunning to try and build a community around. Deep Rock Galactic Survivors, the Deep Rock Galactic Vampire Survivors-esque game. It is listed on speedrun.com, and no one has ever speedrun it. And that might be my next one to start trying to build a community around and encourage other people that this is the cool shit to play. So, I'm continuing to have fun with it.
Nice.
Should we talk about a couple of newsy bits before we wrap?
Let's do it.
So, continued stories of industry layoffs, because of course they're fucking happening all over the place.
Yep.
Ubisoft's Leamington Spa studio in the UK has gotten rid of 185 jobs. A small number of people are going to stay under remote contracts, but the UK office is basically gone, as well as Ubisoft offices in Dusseldorf, Stockholm, and Newcastle are all being downsized. There's not a lot of clarity on what's going on, but one would probably guess it's in response to Ubisoft's last few big AAA games have not sold great.
And I think that they're like, I would think they're trimming down for a sale. Like, I think they're trying to make themselves look to be a valuable asset with little fat.
Well, that's it. It's they've had a few rough launches in a row. Their current big thing they're building up for Assassin's Creed Shadows has been delayed multiple times, and they're trying to do a sale. I can see the storm of things of trying to jettison people. But again, it's another... The UK does not have a huge number of AAA game industry jobs, and that's
Nope.
nearly 200 of them that have just vanished instantly, which fucking sucks. Also, in terms of the industry just being full of shitty people. So you know how right now in the United States there is a big push being started by Trump to not have diversity, equity, and inclusion and accessibility efforts going on in the US, and this is trickling down to companies that don't technically have to comply with what Trump wants yet, but want to be in his good favors.
Yeah, there's no legal obligation outside of the government, which he, as the executive, has the ability to, create dictates that are in theory to be followed. Now, there's some situations where the legality of those kinds of things can be challenged, yada, yada, yada. But the thing to keep in mind is that most of the stuff that is happening within our federal government right now under the direction of Trump, where DEI is concerned, only affects government jobs, not contractors, not anyone related to or outside, nowhere in the private sector. And so any company that is scaling back their DEI stuff at this point is solely doing it out of either fear or a desire to placate, a desire to get people on your side from that, and neither should be acceptable to us.
Yeah, neither one is great, but whatever the reasoning is, you're seeing companies that are either feeling the pressure or are taking the opportunity to scale back those kind of initiatives. And one of the companies where, not necessarily saying that was happening there, but one of the companies where people working there were concerned that there might be cutbacks to their DEI initiatives is Activision Blizzard. And we know about this because a bunch of people at Activision Blizzard were talking in a company Slack about, their various diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives and programs at the company, and being concerned that those might get pushed back against, trying to push to be what can we do to keep our workforce safe and diverse and look after the people who are going to need looking after in this administration. And we know about this because employees of a right-wing persuasion, one would imagine, at Activision Blizzard have been taking screenshots of their own work Slack and sending them to right-wing YouTubers in order to get Activision Blizzard employees who want to continue fighting for DEI harassed online.
I would just like to step real quick in here. This is so dumb. It is so dumb. It is so dumb. Even for a right-wing douchebag, this is dumb. Okay, do you think you're not going to be found? Do you think you're not going to be fired? You are going to be fired. You are definitely. They already know who you are. You are working for a subsidiary of one of the largest technology firms in the fucking world. And maybe this is more important to you than your job. But I guarantee that when you get fired, it's not because the company cares about the DEI. It's because you leaked company communications.
I'll say this. The reason a lot of the employees in this game developer who spoke to GameDeveloper.com about this are concerned, these leaks seem to have been going on for about a week.
Yeah.
Which means that they have not been stamped down quickly. If it's one person, they have managed to keep doing it for about a week. If it's more than one person, that's its own other problem. But yes. And
it's a big machine and HR moves slow.
Yeah.
So I would not be surprised if this quietly stops.
Yes. And we'll keep an eye for it, but yeah, it is a scary time. I can understand why, trans and immigrant and other marginalized employees at Activision Blizzard right now are concerned because they, as far as they know, they are working alongside at least one person who has no problem doxing them and actively throwing them to the wolves to be publicly harassed, which is rough. Also, just fuck off to the people, the right wing shitbags who are engaging in this fucking behavior. It is absolutely ridiculous and nasty fucking shit going on.
I thought the free market was the way that we solved these problems. Stop buying Activision games.
The free market is how we deal with it until
until it's realized that the free market isn't in our favor. Is that
yeah. So that's fucked up. But I do have a nice piece of news we can end on, something
Please.
a little more optimistic that happened literally while we were recording today. You know how Nintendo's been throwing out lawsuits left, right, and center recently? Various companies? Well, Nintendo's lost at least one of their recent lawsuits, and I think it does feel like a good cheers for the underdog kind of story, this. There is a supermarket in Costa Rica called Super Mario.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been called that for about a decade. The guy who runs it, his name is Mario. It's a supermarket. It's Super Mario. And Nintendo tried to sue the owners of this supermarket for trademark infringement, and they successfully fought back in court. Hey, Nintendo, we don't use any branding similarity to the Mario stuff. Our logo is black and yellow and a picture of a trolley. No one's seeing that and going, that's the Mario colours. Also, when you applied for trademarks, you didn't apply for a trademark to cover supermarket names. That's not a thing that you applied to have the trademark on. And my name is Mario, and it is my supermarket. And he won. Nintendo got shut down. He's allowed to still have his Super Mario supermarket. And now if you go there for the next couple of weeks, he has stickers, so you can get a Super Mario sticker from Super Mario Supermarket.
Oh, you'll love to see it. It's just nice to see the little guy win one. Even though it would be patently ridiculous for them to have lost, there was still a real chance of it, and
yeah,
God bless Mario.
I'm glad that they didn't get bullied out of it. Like, they didn't get strong-armed by, this is a scary big company, we should just fold.
They didn't get strong-armed out of their own fucking name.
Exactly.
By a corporation, which would have happily done it.
Yeah, if your name is Mario, you should your supermarket should be allowed to be super too. You can be super and your name can be Mario at the same time. So there you go. Nintendo at least lost one of their recent lawsuits.
And let's hope it's the first of many to come.
Mm-hmm. There we go. I think that's it. We've done it all.
Oh. Well, we've done it all, but you will continue to do it all after this is over. You should tell people where they can go and see all that you're doing.
Well, you can see all of the speedrunning live streams I'm doing over on Twitch at Laura K. Buzz. You can find those Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, at least until I retake these Babysitting Mama records. After that, depends how far into the year when I finish doing the speedrunning stuff. At some point I'll be doing streams of the Pirate Yakuza game that's coming out in February, so look forward to that. Other than that, this week on YouTube there's a new episode of Control Alt Access. Go check that out. There is a video about speedrunning and accessibility for disabled gamers, and talking about ways that speedrunning as a hobby can be made accessible for disabled gamers, and I'm really proud of that video. Check that out on Friday. That's the main stuff. Laura K. Buzz. Just check me out wherever you happen to be. What about you, Conrad? Where are you at on the internet?
Oh, you could find me at Conrad Zimmerman on Blue Sky. You can hang out with me on Twitch at twitch.tv/thatconradzimmerman, where I stream on Sundays, Mondays, and Tuesdays. You could buy anti-capitalist propaganda and Jimquisition merchandise at mercenarycreative.com. And everything I do online gets supported through Patreon at patreon.com/fistshark. And you know who else has a Patreon? Stephanie Sterling,
That's true.
That's
true.
It's patreon.com/Jimquisition. You can check out the stuff that supports, like the Jimquisition video series at youtube.com/JimSterling, or the podcast that you're listening to, where you're listening to it. You can also follow Steph on Blue Sky at Commander Sterling, where they will list their own damn wrestling dates because I can't keep track of them. But there are more wrestling dates coming for Commander Sterling. Go check that out. And I think that's us. That sounds right, yeah?
That sounds right to me.
All right, well, we'll see you all next week, everybody, and have a good one. Bye.
Bye.